There are so many DoD programs that are plagued by cost overruns, design delays, and performance issues. Sadly, this subcommittee has had no shortage of programs to examine when it comes to oversight of DoD, and it drives me up a wall. We must also address the larger systemic issues within DoD that allow such waste and inefficiencies to persist. The department has consistently failed comprehensive audits, revealing significant problems in accounting and data management. The lack of financial accountability leads to waste and abuse of taxpayer funds. To address these issues, we must implement stronger oversight and enforcement mechanisms with DoD. Both contractors and DoD officials must be held accountable for cost overruns, delays, and performance issues. The American people and our servicemen deserve to know that their hard-earned tax dollars are being spent wisely and that our service members have the best tools available to protect our nation.
You know, military and defense spending has gotten completely out of control when Republicans like Glenn Grothman, Virginia Fox, and Paul Gosar are calling for more accountability and oversight with the weapons of war our tax dollars fund. Representative Stephen Lynch, a middle-of-the-road Democrat who's progressive on some social issues, has taken exception to reckless defense spending for over 2 decades now. And his words are worth paying attention to.
The Department of Defense, their contracting process is so complex, so labyrinthine, and so opaque. And that's not just overseas and in construction, but also within our national labs. The process by which a certain contractor gets, wins a bid is absolutely smoke and mirrors in our country.
What Lynch is hinting at is the internal corruption, quid pro quo, and backroom deals between military, DoD officials and the massive defense contractors that perpetuate the endless cycle of profiting off of violence.
There is no competition. We have a regular rotation of people coming out of the military, going to work for the national labs or these big contracting outfits, and then because of relationships and friendships, that takes over. Those relationships take over. We never have truly open, competitive bidding within the Department of Defense.
You know, this sadly is not unique to just defense contractors either. There's a revolving door in all industries of lobbyists, congressional staffers, of course, think tank staffers, media pundits, and corporate employees that all trade places and shuffle around various positions in order to crush competition, further influence legislation, to produce favorable outcomes for shareholders, and cut deals amongst each other to keep the racket going, whether they know that's what they're doing or not.
We need to have someone monitoring this on site, at the national labs, who is what I would describe as a taxpayer representative, someone who actually is there to watch out for the best interest of the taxpayer, because as my colleagues have pointed out, we are just puking money here to the Pentagon, and there is no accountability and no serious effort at unwinding this labyrinthine process where our taxpayers are being robbed of precious resources at the same time that the goal and the mission of our Department of Defense is not being met. We are falling further behind.
In case you were unaware, 2023 was at least the 6th year in a row that the Pentagon has failed its annual audit after fighting pressure to even have an audit in the first place. That since the 1990s, when all government departments were directed to do so. But what's even more worrying is that the DoD is receiving more than $600 billion in federal funding just in this fiscal year alone, representing about 20% of the entire government budget. For context, that's about the same amount the departments of Education, Veterans Affairs, Transportation, Agriculture, and every other independent government agency are receiving combined. It's clear where the government's true interests lie.
And I'm just hoping that at some point we might get together here on this committee and actually put out some legislation that actually addresses what's going on here. We just had a major major IT failure because of CrowdStrike, it's a sort of a single source repository for cybersecurity, and yet and this was global because of its connection to the Microsoft system, but so the Europeans are experiencing the same discomfort we are. We've had massive failures that have affected not only the day-to-day activity of the American people, with failures of thousands and thousands of flights canceled, but also we've got some serious concerns about the readiness of our national security. So I want to thank the witnesses. You've all been very good with providing different perspectives to us, but I would like to insist that we actually take up some legislation and try to get some stuff passed, rather than have these periodic hearings that are very well-intentioned and informative, but the time for action has long since passed, and I just think we've got to come together on this.
It doesn't have to be this way. There are practical ways that Congress can act to quell defense spending and reappropriate that funding for other uses. Just a few places to start. I don't know, crack down on corporate corruption. And that means there must be tough punishment for corporations and the individuals involved when caught. There has to be. And do you know what would be a huge next step? Banning DoD employees, military officials, and elected officials from working for a private defense contractor for up to 5 years. Hell, maybe more. We wouldn't need so many bullets, guns, tanks, drones, military planes, weapons of war if we perhaps invested in peace on the front end. Think about it. Boosting and funding social services, infrastructure packages, tax credits for families, and certain industries, investing in green energy, trade programs, fixing our immigration system in a real way, and other worthy initiatives that materially improve people's conditions would lead to more hope, more prosperity, more benefits for more people, and less war globally. That's not a pipe dream. We can still be ready to defend ourselves and our allies. But if we changed our militaristic mindset, we may need to do so less and less.